Donald Trump is now officially the first Bitcoin president in the USA. He didn't mention Bitcoin in his inauguration speech. As a result, the Bitcoin price drops initially. There's definitely some disappointment right now. There won't be an executive order on the first day. But that doesn't mean there won't be a strategic Bitcoin reserve. It just means that on the first day, the priorities are set differently. Of course, a lot can still happen throughout the day, and an executive order could still come. It just means that on the first day, the priorities will be set differently. A lot can still happen throughout the day, and an executive order could still come. Additionally, Ross Ulbricht wasn't mentioned either, here in the speech. So, we still don't know about Ross Ulbricht, if he will be pardoned. A paper was also leaked before the inauguration speech outlining the current priorities here in the USA. We're taking a look at the whole thing. Also, we actually have the Trump team that started buying Bitcoin here before the inauguration. Officially buying Bitcoin. And after the speech, they bought even more Bitcoin, which is actually a pretty bullish signal. So we officially have the Trump team buying Bitcoin here. They're not buying direct Bitcoin here. They're buying wrapped Bitcoin. But that still means that Bitcoin has to be locked on the main chain. So there's basically more demand for Bitcoin here. We're also looking into what's behind that, because the team actually started buying Bitcoin just a few hours before the inauguration speech. Started buying Bitcoin. Cynthia Loomis actually tweeted just a few hours before the inauguration speech. Kicked out of strategic Bitcoin reserves. She hinted at it that something like this was going to happen. She also met with Donald Trump, but apparently it didn't help her at all in the first round. But like I said, the strategic Bitcoin reserve is not completely off the table, but it just means that it might take a few more days. 1, 2 weeks, months, who knows. The likelihood is still very, very high that it will happen this year. But I get it too, because Donald Trump is basically here, and he's already addressed different priorities with politics. He mentioned in the inauguration speech that it's really, really important to restore security here in the US first. He says that he will also be the president who is basically uniting different nations again. And then, of course, what's more important here than Bitcoin, at least according to Donald Trump. So, in the end, what he addressed is that he wants to fight inflation here, and he doesn't want to fight inflation by basically buying Bitcoin here, or something like that. But he wants to fight inflation here by doing trill baby trill, so by massively bringing down energy prices. And as energy prices go down, inflation will naturally drop too. At the same time, he announced that the Department of Government Efficiency is now officially underway. And the Department of Government Efficiency will just make everything here more efficient. They're going to cut out the bullshit stuff and maybe set up the whole state budget more efficiently. Handle the tax money better. Basically get a better handle on the deficits here. That's basically the next thing he did. Then he would issue or sign an executive order against free speech. That in the end, everyone has the right to say everything. That's obviously very, very good, because free speech also means that Bitcoin indirectly benefits from it. Because Bitcoin is, if you think about it, nothing else but free speech. I mean, you can't really restrict Bitcoin anyway, but you can definitely see the trend right now that it's moving more towards free speech. Also on different social media platforms. Donald Trump has also lifted the TikTok ban here, and that obviously means that information about Bitcoin is now coming to the forefront more and more. It's coming into the public eye. That's why you can also say indirectly. At least it's not too bad for Bitcoin here. What's going on here? That means that at least freedom of speech is granted here. Then there are things like how there are now officially only 2 genders. That means you can officially say in the USA now, you're either a man or a woman, and there aren't like 50,000 options here. Gender or something like that. Those were basically the things that Donald Trump addressed here. And then there's also this document here. I can show you this here. Here you can see the document, and you can just see the other priorities here. Train the swamp, make America affordable and energy dominant again. And up here it says make America safe again. I mean, I can kind of understand that. You just have to set priorities. But Donald Trump has a lot on his plate right now. And as I said, an executive order is not quite. Let's say it's not off the table, but it could be that it comes in the next few days. Months and so on, we just have to keep an eye on it for now. But of course, the initial hype is gone for now. And all the people who preached an executive order on day 1 probably got it wrong. I've also shown several people here who actually predicted that here. Who, for example, said that the executive order would go through on the first day here. For example, like Free Kruger, or there were a few others. But anyway, that didn't happen. Maybe it will still happen, the day still has a few hours left or so. But for sure, it wasn't included in the inauguration speech. could still be that the executive order comes. But I don't really know how that's going to play out exactly. I am not one of those here now. How do you say? Legal expert when the executive orders are going to be signed or if they're just going to party for now. And then in the next few days, executive orders will be signed. But what's way crazier here? So, what's happening here with the whole inauguration speech is that this is just a few hours before Donald Trump took office. And you can see here Trump's world liberty, finance, coin, has now taken significant steps towards Rep Bitcoin. They put their treasury into Rep Bitcoin and made 9 purchases this morning of 44 Rep Bitcoin each, totaling around 41 million, completed in US dollars. Down here, you can basically see the transaction flows. And this is how it looks. That means the World Liberty Finance Foundation, and I don't know what to call it. For sure, the story around Donald Trump, who hasn't released the Donald Trump meme coin. I think it wasn't the World Liberty Finance, they just have various NFT projects and, who knows, some other Trump projects in the World Liberty Finance coin. And who knows what else is out there. They published that. There's Eric Trump right there. Strongly involved with that. They have now started to swap your assets, your treasury, into Bitcoin. And in the end, that's a really, really positive sign. Because it still shows that Donald Trump's team is really, really bullish on Bitcoin. Maybe something's coming here that other people might not see yet. So, yeah, it's really, really interesting. And a lot of people here have interpreted that very positively. Because they just say, okay, hey, if they're buying Bitcoin here, then it must mean something. There was even a recent leak here. And not just before the inauguration speech, but even during the inauguration speech, they're still buying Bitcoin. Here, Michael Saylor says, the company of the 47th president. President here, so the company of the 47th. The president bought 47 million in Bitcoin. And here, Eric Weiss also says that this all happened during the inauguration. So during the speech, is it just a coincidence buying Bitcoin during the speech, or is an event anticipated? Buying Bitcoin. Or is an event being anticipated here? Like, for example, an executive order, and they just know more than we do. Feel free to drop your take on this in the comments. Also important here, they didn't buy Bitcoin directly, in quotes, but RobRap Bitcoin and Wrap Bitcoins are basically shitcoin Bitcoins that run on Ethereum. But to have a Wrap Bitcoin, you have to lock a Bitcoin on the main chain. That means the Bitcoin is basically gone, locked on the main chain, and can then basically be used on the Ethereum chain. When you buy wrapped Bitcoin, you can unwrap it anytime you want, and then basically has the Bitcoin back on the main chain. That's why you can see it that way. It's like when actual Bitcoin is being bought here. That means there's definitely demand pressure here. So when you buy a wrapped Bitcoin, it means that somewhere a Bitcoin has to be taken out of the supply. And that's why it's naturally pushing the price up. And now you have to be exciting. I say, stay tuned, keep your eye on the ball, and really watch what's happening here. How this continues, whether more wrapped Bitcoin will be bought here. So a lot of people took this very, very bullish. Many people actually believe now that the wrapped Bitcoin being bought here is supposed to front-run the inauguration speech. That the insiders are really positioning themselves here to front-run the inauguration speech. But that hasn't been the case here. But it could be that an executive order is being front-run here. That might come today, or maybe tomorrow, or in the next few days. Michael Saylor has already bought Bitcoin again. We're seeing this here. He actually posted again here. Michael Saylor knows there's a reason to celebrate. Here. Switching to orange dots to celebrate the inauguration of the real Donald Trump, the first Bitcoin president. So he actually posted again here, his chart with all the dots. And every time he posts that, his chart with the dots, then he bought Bitcoin here about a day later. And a lot of people had the theory that Michael Saylor has been buying so much Bitcoin lately to basically front-run the executive order or a strategic Bitcoin reserve. There was also officially the meeting between Michael Saylor and here the Trump administration, where they basically met with each other. I don't know exactly what it was about. But anyway, a lot of people speculated. Okay, Michael Saylor is currently buying so much Bitcoin because he wants to front-run the Donald Trump Bitcoin purchases. The strategic Bitcoin reserve here. Right now, it looks like that's definitely not the case. But all of this can still happen, and we just have to keep a close eye on it. I'm really curious to keep watching this. What's also really clear here is that the Google search queries are actually going back up. For example, if you look at how to buy Bitcoin, the Google search queries are definitely going back up. They're obviously not at an all-time high yet, like we used to have, where the Google search queries really skyrocketed, and everyone wanted to get into Bitcoin or something, where the Google search queries really shot through the roof, where everyone wanted to get into Bitcoin or something. But we definitely see that the That retailers are getting back in, that we don't just have institutional interest, that it's not just the big players buying Bitcoin here, but that the little guys are getting in on it too. Because right now, that's definitely causing a lot of commotion in everything. That's happening around Bitcoin. Donald Trump, also the meme coin, and what? All this stuff here, I'd say, is going on. The meme coins have also taken a dive, by the way. Here from Donald Trump, the meme coin has also taken a hit for now, after the inauguration speech and so on. So it's interesting that the retailers are actually coming back now. Aside from that, there are also more bullish news like this one. The CEO of Rumble has just confirmed that the nearly $4 billion company bought Bitcoin for the first time on Friday. And that won't be the last purchase. I saw the CEO just a few days ago in El Sailor, or maybe it was a week ago. Max Kaiser's golf tournament here. That's also very, very interesting, that more and more people are betting on Bitcoin. So more and more people are getting involved. And now something really, really exciting has actually happened here. And you can see that here. Here, this is from Mara, the CEO. And that's really, really exciting because it kind of slipped under the radar. I just found that out somehow. Or I don't know if this just came to light. He was actually here at the Trump ball. He was actually sitting next to the US Secretary of Defense. Here you can see more pictures. And they definitely talk to each other. The Mara CEO. And here also the Secretary of Defense. And you have to know, Mara is really one of the most relevant ones. Mining companies, worldwide probably. They also have a sort of MicroStrategy approach where they buy Bitcoin on leverage. Additionally, they are engaged in Bitcoin mining. And many have speculated about this now, that the software theory would actually be discussed here. Because otherwise, it wouldn't make any sense. That's basically here. The Secretary of Defense is sitting right here next to the mining big shot. I don't know what to call it. Many have speculated about this now, whether there's actually some kind of software thing being discussed here at least, whether it will be implemented. At least the software story is being discussed. Whether it will actually be implemented is the next question. So the basic theory is that sooner or later, you need hash power for the sovereignty and security of the nation state, meaning mining power, to simply provide the block space. To be able to provide it here in the future. Because the projection of power from the physical space will partly shift into the digital space. I mean, the software theory is also controversial, and so on, no question about it, but in the end, this is the big hook that a lot of people here might have overlooked. Here with the Donald Trump crypto boy. There was also a report here. Breaking news, Donald Trump has informed insiders in a private meeting that he wants all Bitcoin mined by US miners using American energy to be tax-free. For all other Bitcoin, tariffs will be imposed. Technical details on the implementation are not available at the moment. And in the end, that's a leak. You don't really know if that's true or not. But it does sound plausible. That Donald Trump also wants to further promote the mining story in the U.S. Should promote whatever. But like I said, we didn't hear anything about that in the inauguration speech. But you also have to make a distinction. A lot of things are happening behind the scenes here. You also have to understand that in the inauguration speech, he can't cover every topic. I'm sure a lot of topics would just be ignored here, that still have a certain relevance, but just didn't make it into the inauguration speech. Only the most pressing topics make it in. There are definitely still a lot of things like Bitcoin, but also other topics that are still relevant. Here for Donald Trump, which he hasn't mentioned here. Then it's really nice to observe all the commotion and with Donald Trump coin. And whatever, we see that here. El Sailor. Just keep buying Bitcoin. Here, Naive Bukele is posting. Again, I think you have it. Here. Bought 11 or 12 Bitcoin. Now we have a total of 6,043 Bitcoin. So that's basically what a lot of people have been talking about now. El Sailor. That's basically what's happening with all the shitcoins going on worldwide. El Sailor. But here, a hotspot is for Bitcoin-only adoption. And Bukele has never posted a shitcoin here. Bukele has never launched a shitcoin here. With Sailor, there's really a Bitcoin-only focus. There are no shitcoins, and very, very few of them. I've never seen a shitcoin meetup happen there. Or that there were shitcoins involved somewhere and that you could pay with shitcoins, or something like that. But here, there's really a strong Bitcoin-only focus. And that's exactly what we need right now. That you don't get lost in any shitcoins here, but that you can really distinguish the signal from the noise here. And that's really, really important. Definitely, if you still want to buy Bitcoin, I'll put a link for you down below to 21 Bitcoin, the easiest way to buy Bitcoin in Europe. And if you want to secure your Bitcoin as much as possible, I'll also put a link down below to a TREZOR hardware wallet. The easiest way to securely store Bitcoin on a hardware wallet independent of third-party risks like exchanges or anything else. ETFs, banks, and a lot more. Let me know what you think about the current movements. See you later. Peace out.